play. Alrighty. Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to day 3 of our Macro 101 series.
Hi, guys.
With Coach Trista and Coach Marissa. We really hope that you guys have gotten so much value out of these past 2 days. And then today we're just gonna wrap it up. But first of all, I'm just gonna do a quick recap of what we've gone over so far. So day 1, we walked you through what flexible dieting is, how to set up your own macros based on your goals, and how to input them into, oh, never mind. We didn't. And with the flexible dieting guide, it teaches you how to put them into your MyFitnessPal. We didn't go over that, but it's pretty self-explanatory. So make sure that you guys check that out. If you haven't had the opportunity, make sure you reach out to Coach Marissa or myself so we can get you the link to download a copy of the flexible dieting guide. It is, I mean, we use that. We walked you right through it, and it takes you step by step how to set up your own macros. So, I mean, that right there is worth like hundreds of dollars just in us like walking you through it.
An hour of headaches. So yeah.
Exactly. And then of course we mentioned if your goal is to lose weight, you have to be in a calorie deficit. And if you want to gain weight or put on muscle, you have to be in a calorie surplus. So we dived into that a little bit. You want to maintain your numbers, your macros for 2 to 3 weeks before you make changes. This is a slow, steady process. And if you are making changes constantly, then we don't really know exactly what is working for you. So we'll actually drop the link in the comments so you guys can download that guide. It's amazing. And then day 2, we talked about grocery shopping, and Coach Marissa put an awesome video inside the Fit Life Tribe Facebook group today, walking you through what she like her staple foods, her grocery list, and why she chooses the foods that she does. So it's an amazing resource. If you guys haven't had a chance to check that out, make sure that you do. But day 2, we really talked about figuring out what foods are going to help you reach your macros, the foods that, and then based off of that, it helps you determine what your staple foods are. So what are the foods that you need to buy each week in order to hit your personal macros? And it varies from person to person. Coach Marissa and I have a lot of similar foods, but then we also eat quite differently as well. So we talked about that. And then also we included a grocery shopping list for you that is broken down by macros sources or by macros and into fruits and vegetables, just to get you thinking. And remember, this isn't like an end all be all list.
Right.
Just some of the foods that we came up with. And even Coach Marissa talked about edamame, and I was like, that's not on my list, but that's a really wonderful item. So this is definitely just like I said, just to get those juices flowing so you have some ideas. And it's broken down by your macros. Another tip as far as grocery shopping, have a plan, have a list, don't go hungry, and shop the perimeter. So
I like that you said that. I mean, I kind of already knew that, but I never really put it into that perspective. Like, yeah, I do shop on the parameters. And then like for the select few items, go in between the aisles. But
yeah, exactly.
I don't really need to.
Yeah. So today, Coach Marissa and I are going to talk about, so now we know what our numbers are. We've already done our grocery shopping. So how in the world do we prep? And so many people are like, oh, meal prep is just so tedious and it's so time consuming and I just don't have time for that. I get that. First of all, the more you do it, the easier it gets. If you have some kind of like strategic plan when you approach it, it's not that bad. Or choosing, and the more you do it, the easier it gets.
Yeah, and keeping it basic, like we had talked about, a couple of days ago, keeping it really basic in the beginning is key. Start to get it down, and then you can start being more creative with it once you understand it all. And able, and you have the more you do it, the less time it takes, and it doesn't seem like such of a chore per se.
Yeah. Well, and then it ultimately saves you more time throughout the week because you just can grab your food and go. And so once you get the hang of it, I think it really does save you time in the long run, and it saves you money in the long run too. And so I actually was on the phone with my mom the other day, and she's like, she told me, I'm finally starting to lose some weight again. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome, Mom. What did you do different? And she's like, well, so my parents are remodeling as well. And they haven't had a stove. And, so she's like, well, my dad like hooked her up and she's been cooking meals at home again instead of eating out so much. I'm like,
It
you know,
does save you money, and like overall it helps you reach your goals, because if you're not prepared, you're 9 times out of 10 more likely to end up in the driveway of a fast food. It just is
mhm.
what it is, because you haven't prepared, you have nothing to eat, you're starving. And what do? We grab the quickest fix. That's
Yep,
fast.
exactly. And one thing that I have this on my notes to talk about today, but since we're kind of talking about it, is have items that if you have not had time to meal prep, that you have in your freezer or that are like easily to just grab and go. So like, oh, you had some in your video, just the little Uncle Ben's rice packs. Like have those on hand. They stay well. They stay good for quite a while.
Oh,
So you can keep them in
oh
your
yeah.
cupboard. And that's something you can always have on hand. I always have frozen vegetables. I always have frozen fruit and frozen protein. So I can just throw them in the microwave and have a meal right there. It takes less than 5 minutes. So um, make sure you guys start thinking about foods that you can always have on hand. And you can be like me, because I feel like I'm a lazy meal prepper. Lazy. I prep the bare minimum in order to make sure I'm still hitting my goals. So let's kind of dive into a few of those tips a little bit.
Mhm.
So I do what's called bulk prep. And what I mean by that is 1 to 2 times a week, I'll cook 2 to 3 protein sources and make sure I have enough for 3 to 4 days, right? So I'll take ground turkey, chicken, steak, um, ground beef, whatever it looks like, and cook 2 of those. And then I'll take 2 to 3 carb sources. And if you want to refer to our list, I've posted them in the Facebook group. And I'll post them. No, they're in the Facebook group. They give you different options of carbs. So whether that's sweet potatoes, and Coach Marissa had her bag of sweet potatoes, which is so easy. You just throw that in the microwave for what, like 5, 8 minutes, something like that. And it is good to go. And we are freezing. Uh-oh. Oh no. All right, so we'll go ahead and continue. I don't know what just happened to Coach Marissa. There she
Oh,
is.
I'm right here.
Okay. It just like froze and then went black. Okay, so that's like the number one thing that I do is I choose 2 proteins, 2 to 3 carbs, prep them enough for 3 to 4 days. And I'll just throw it in the fridge in a big container so I can just measure out how much I need depending on what, my serving size for the day.
Yeah, I definitely, like you said, I do the exact same thing so that I'm at bare minimal prepared for if I'm being late, depending on if I'm being lazy or as creative as I want to get. So say I'm being creative and I have like these bird's eyes. You probably have these too, Trista.
I do, yep. I actually
And
had it for dinner last night.
and I'll throw in my chicken in there. Or I sometimes I have chicken salads. Or last night or the night before, I had a stir fry with sirloin. I saved that sirloin and I threw it on some rice the next day, so I can make several different meals just out of like switching things up. But
Mhm.
just having those basic food items ready, I'm halfway there. Like I don't have to, it doesn't take me but maybe 10 minutes to throw it all together.
Yes.
Because I took extra, hour on Sunday or Monday and meal prepped.
Yeah. And then, I mean, if you are really busy, then you can put each meal into a separate container. So when Ken and I were doing a lot of bodybuilding competitions, we would cook all of our chicken, and we honestly would spend about 3 hours prepping. We would grill, but we actually, back when we did that, we would at least prep for 5 days, like Monday through Friday, for sure. We would cook chicken, steak, like whatever our staple proteins were for lunch and dinner. And as we cooked them, like Ken would cook them, he'd bring them in, I would cut them all up. Like we chopped everything and put it in individual Tupperwares with the rice. So we would do our protein and our carb source and put it in a Tupperware. Then we would be able to just grab some veggies and, like kind of like you mentioned, if like my fats always went on the side. So if I needed to add fats to my meals, then it would be like in a little bag, or I would grab an avocado and cut it up and take half of it with me, or whatever that amounted, like whatever amount I needed. So we did that. And then another wonderful like pro tip is when you get your groceries, take just a little bit of extra time to wash and chop all your fruits and vegetables.
Yeah. So I do that as well. My daughter actually is the master wash my fruits and chop them up, because we go through them like 3 times a week. I probably buy another batch of them. But yeah, if I don't wash them and cut them, I'm probably not going to throw any on my salad, because it takes that extra 5 minutes to prepare them, which is silly, because if I just do it right when I get it, it takes maybe 5-10 minutes to just do the whole batch.
Yep, exactly. And so a little bit of prep work on the front end is going to save you so much time in the long run. So I hope that these tips were helpful. Also, one thing I wanted to talk about as far as meal prep goes is this is called the I don't want to cook, but I still want to lose weight starter pack. And I saw this posted today on like Instagram, I think it was, and I thought it was genius. But it's exactly what I talk about, you talk about. This is the Uncle Ben's Ready Rice, some frozen naturals Tyson chicken breasts, I believe, grilled chicken breast already cooked, canned beans, strawberries, quick oats, oatmeal, rotisserie chicken. That's another huge staple in every time I go to Costco, I always get a rotisserie chicken and I shred it. And then I have protein for 4 days. And then our bird's eye meals. So I don't know if you guys can see that, but that is exactly what we were talking about today. Is those are foods that you can have on hand that are so easy to throw together a meal that's going to help fit within your macros very easily. So let's kind of talk a little bit about what I know we've done, like a day of eating and so on, but talk us through what a day of eating looks like for you, just kind of a typical day.
Okay, yeah. So my breakfast is probably my heaviest meal. I get up, a couple hours early. That's just how I am, to like have my morning routine and my coffee. And so I have a really pretty, like, I don't know, like 600 calories almost for breakfast. 40 grams of that is all protein. It depends on where I'm at with my sensitivities, because I have lots of them, but ideally I like to have egg whites. I have egg whites, rice cakes, peanut butter, bananas, and I throw like berries and strawberries and blueberries on them as well. If I'm having my sensitivity to eggs, then I do yogurts, Greek yogurts, which I like just as well. For lunch, like I said, it can be a leftover of what's left from supper the night before, or salad with some protein on it. I can make a pretty good sized salad with 50 grams of protein as well. I aim for an average of 40 to 50 grams of protein per meal. I don't snack a whole lot, so I know that it's important for me to reach my numbers to get the bulk of my protein for each meal. Um, so then for supper, I don't know, I can do wraps, corn wraps. I do a lot of rice cakes. I like stir fries. Um, but like I said, the majority of my biggest meal is my breakfast. And I know that like I plan everything around my breakfast because that's like I always have the same breakfast. But that's what I like. That's what works for me.
Well, and as you were saying, like you know what your staple meals are. That's the most important part of this is to understand, to learn what foods you love and that you can still fit into your macros and then always have those on hand. So your breakfast is very similar to mine. Eggs, usually I'll do 1 to 2 whole eggs, add in some liquid egg whites. I like to top mine with cheese. Sometimes I'll add in veggies into my like egg white scramble. And then I love toast with strawberry jam. That's like my go-to breakfast. And same thing, I like to keep my breakfast around 40 to 50 grams of protein as well. So that first meal is like fueling me for a good portion of my day. And I feel good. I'm ready to go. I know I've started my day off on the right foot because I have already had a good amount of protein. And both of us, our protein goals around, mine's 145. Is yours 145?
It's 144, I think, or 40. Yeah, it's 46.
Yeah.
One of the two, yeah.
Yeah. So by having that 40 to 50 grams of protein right there in our first meal, we're already a third of the way to our protein goal. And then from there, my meals usually are a little bit smaller. I generally have a protein shake a day, which is 30 grams of protein. And then I always have, I would say 80% of the time, my nightcap is a Greek yogurt as well, which is going to, I use that. I'm telling you, I use that to like fit my last bit of macros. So if I'm like, ooh, tonight I still have 30 grams of protein. Well, I know that to get 30 grams of protein, I have to have 300 grams of my Greek yogurt to hit 30 grams or to get 30 grams of protein. So,
One thing I do is when I know that I'm going to have a celebration or a special occasion, which 9 times out of 10, I feel like most of us have an idea if we're going to be going to dinner Friday night with friends or whatever, I back plan. So I will punch in, I have an idea what I'm going to eat wherever I'm going, and I will punch that in before anything and then plan my other meals around that. Um, I wanted to throw that out there because that's what this flexible dieting is that we've been trying to teach you and why macros are awesome and a godsend. And you can enjoy the foods you love and still lose weight.
exactly. I love that. I'm glad you threw that in there because that is 100% true. Flexible, like we're all about the flexibility, 80% coming from whole nutritious foods, which is going to be on that list, that macro list that you guys have access to inside the Fit Life Tribe Facebook group. But also understanding like, hey, 20% of the foods that I eat can be those soul foods, those foods that make me feel good and happy and not feel like I'm constantly on a diet or unhappy and deprived and restricting food. So that is not what we are about inside the Fit Life Tribe. We want you to understand this is balance and that just because you are in a calorie deficit, you shouldn't be unhappy. You should still be able to enjoy foods that you enjoy and foods that you love. So is there anything else that you have to add or would like to add?
I wanted to add one more thing because I was going over this with a girl yesterday. She's at the beginning of understanding macros and my fitness pal all together. Like we said in the very beginning, keep it super simple. So if you made homemade lasagna and you're just overwhelmed by the understanding macros in my fitness pal, just type in homemade lasagna. And then when you get down the road in a couple weeks, you can start to dissect the ingredients and put things in. But just in the beginning, this does not have to be a miserable process. It should be something you enjoy doing. It should not take you hours to do.
Yeah. Oh, so while we're speaking about tips, that's a wonderful one. Keeping it simple. But another great tip to help you hit your macros is, like Coach Marissa said, this is a learning curve. It's going to take some time to understand what foods you personally love and enjoy to hit your macros. So think about the foods that you have in your fridge the night before and sit there like maybe when you're just relaxing after dinner, if you're hanging out with your spouse watching TV, think about, what am I going to eat tomorrow? What am I going to have for breakfast? Type it into your MyFitnessPal. What am I going to have for lunch? Type it in. What am I going to have for dinner? Type it in. And then you can go and look at your nutrition and see what you have. Like, how can I hit my macros? What else do I need to add into my day to get closer? And that right there will help you learn how to get better at
yes,
calculating your macros. And that was probably one of the things that all of our clients inside the Fit Life tribe, when I have them, we'll do like a little accountability thing. If they're having trouble hit their macros, I tell them, I want you to put all your foods into MyFitnessPal the night before and send us a screenshot inside our group chat. And that keeps them accountable for number one, helps them learn what foods they need to eat to hit their macros. And it helps us digest what they're doing as well, and where we can help them, make improvements. So I challenge you to do that. And then once you get the hang of it, it does get a lot easier as you go.
So easy. Yes.
So, all right, quick recap again. Day one, we taught you how to go through or calculate your own macros and what macros were. Day two, we talked about grocery shopping. Make sure you guys check out the grocery list by macros, and then the other macro cheat sheet. They are going to be super helpful. And then today, just have a plan. Ultimately, have a plan. Sit down, think about what you want to eat. As Coach Marissa said, keep it simple. Just cook a couple protein sources, a couple carb sources, throw them together. If you're low on fat, throw some avocado in there, throw some almonds in there, or something to increase your fat intake just a little bit, to help you hit your macros. And it does take some time, but it gets easier every time.
The more you do it, it's just like anything. The more you do, practice makes perfect. So you'll get better at it. And we're
Yeah,
all
and
here to help you. If you have questions, just reach out to us. We would gladly help you.
yes, exactly. All right. Well, one more thing I forgot to add. One of the easiest ways to cook chicken is in the crock pot. So if you really are struggling, and not struggling, but if you really have a very full plate, if you are really busy, throw some chicken in the crock pot, and like, you can do just chicken. One of my favorite things is to throw some salsa in there. It just gives it a little bit of flavor, makes it super juicy. And then I have chicken for a whole, 3 to 5 days. So if you are really short on time, that is one of like the easiest go-to things. Or I'll throw chicken breast in there and put a couple chicken bouillon cubes, and then it gives it a little like extra chickeny flavor, and it's super good. Goes on anything. But like you were saying, I love making rice bowls. As you were talking about stir fry, I love making rice bowls. So my crock pot chicken makes those rice bowls absolutely phenomenal.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah.
I have a couple. That's what I'll have. I have a couple really good chicken crock pot recipes I need to share with everyone. They are amazing.
All right. Yeah.
Yes. Awesome, you guys. Well, thank you for joining us. Like Coach Marissa said, if you have questions, please reach out and DM us. We would love to help set you up and really help you reach your health and fitness goals through, educating you on macros and how to reach those goals. So thank you for joining us.
Bye, guys.